Welcome to the Gain Momentum podcast, focusing on timeless lessons from senior leaders in hospitality, travel, technology, and food service. I have today Nikolai Kronborg, CEO of AeroGuest. Nikolai, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you're coming today from Copenhagen.
That's correct. The capital of Denmark, Adam.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a geography buff, so I can even point to it on a map too.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, the second grade geography. Um, So before we got on, we started with the phrase that's on the back of your vest there, your lovely AeroGuest vest that says, make time for what matters. And I think that that's such a beautiful phrase to encapsulate what you're trying to achieve and are achieving for hotels with AeroGuest, as well as just the hospitality industry in general in terms of the experience economy and creating these special moments for guests. So give us the elevator pitch of what AeroGuest is all about and how it actually does make time for what matters.
Yeah. Well, we believe in making time for what matters for both hoteliers and guests. And we do that by building really, really deep integrations between the tech stacks within hospitality. So we can automate all kinds of repetitive tasks. So by doing that, we free up time for hoteliers, to do what they actually wanted to do by joining hospitality, maybe, talking to guests and do great services instead of doing repetitive tasks of checking people in or out or whatever they do. And at the same time, guest travelers also want to utilize their time by not standing in line or doing other repetitive tasks during their stay. And they want to be in control so they can prepare their stay beforehand, right? We are kind of also inspired by 20 years of airlines moving the boarding pass to your phone, checking into your airline the day before. So all that stuff kind of is tucked away and you can concentrate on what matters traveling.
Well, I mean, you're giving a great overview of tens of thousands of hours of development work to make that happen and to stitch together those processes to move something like check-in and all of its various procedures into the phone. And I'm wondering if you could color that, just focusing on the check-in insofar as how you've helped move that online to make that mobile enabled in various ways, and then talk about how that's really improved the service and tracing that all the way through to the quality scores you see on TripAdvisor and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're touching upon the toughest part, right? The check-in is the obvious pain point. So that's where we started. And, we will never be done. It's extremely complicated as, first of all, to automate that process, you need a two-way integration to the property management system at the hotel, not a one-way. You have to be able to pull data and push data back, right? And all the hotels we've been working with, even if they work with the same property management system, they use it differently. And then you can add different countries, different requirements, ID, passport needs, city tax, stuff like that. So really, really complicated. While, at the same time, hotel has been operating, completely the same since you built the pyramids, right? So, and they have been earning money, so why change a winning concept? So they have a very, very strong mindset on, we're doing it like we used to. And then we come around saying that can be done smarter. So that is a big process. And on top of that, you cannot check in people before they arrive if they have any outstanding. So the whole payment part, you need to have that in place as well. And there comes security, there comes credit cards on file, deposits, you name it. And we have to, be able to, of course, take that money pre-arrival, you sitting in your couch the day before, taking in, and then push that data into the PMS as well. Different rules applies for different countries and so forth. So big tasks and a lot of PMSs, you have to do the same with all over the world.
And within all that, you also have to make a decision about which markets to target insofar as expansion and deploying the, I guess, compliance standards to your platform to make sure, working, can handle the city taxes, can handle the security procedures, the data procedures, and then also making sure you have the necessary data structuring with the interfaces that are most common amongst the PMSs used in that territory. So that is huge.
Yeah. So you can say there's two realizations. The one is relatively easy. That's the integration part. Not that the integration is easy, but Oracle, Infor, they are 70% of the market, and the rest is long tail. So having those plus some European like news, for example, and some local Nordic ones, we basically cover the world, being PMS agnostic. Uh, but if you then add digital market maturity, then you end up in Northern Europe. I would say definitely ahead of any other markets within this. Also, change management, doing things differently.
Yeah.
Um, that's the toughest part, I would say.
The toughest part is the human part.
Yeah. As we talked about
Yeah.
a little bit before, we've been doing this like we've used to since the pyramids were built. Why change that? And, people are afraid of change. They are especially afraid of technology. Um, it's also an industry who has been offered all kinds of technology over the last 30 years that might not have been useful. So they are also a little, hurt by that. And you can add Expedia and Hotel.com and all that on top of that, So they are a bit afraid of technology, I would say.
Well, one interesting part of the hotel industry that people outside don't really consider as it relates to technology is that it's a triple platform. You have to have platforms that appeal to upper managers who are not necessarily using the systems day in, day out, and or IT managers that are just configuring it. Then you also have the guests that are using the guest user interface. But then in the middle, you have the associates that are using the interface every single day. And I'm wondering what features or tools have you put into AeroGuest, both on the platform as well as in your business processes to really improve that associate experience? We've noticed that only around 10% of listeners like or subscribe to the Gain Momentum podcast. To stay up to date with the latest experts coming on the show, and so this content can reach fellow hoteliers and hotel technologists, a like or subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Ryan. I think what nails it is something they all can relate to of those you mentioned, is because all of them at some point is also a guest. So the user interface, the user experience and design when you do the web check-in, that is something everybody can relate to. Is it easy, simple? You know, you don't have to fill out any data because we have it already from the PMS. I would say that is where we have put a lot of resources into that. Because if people try some technology and it feels easy to use, and the incentive is obvious, okay, I'll do this check-in on my phone the day before, so I don't have to do the other thing when I arrive, like downloading your boarding pass for your airlines the day before, so that's in place, right? I don't have to stress about that at the airport. That is the one thing that, really work on a broad perspective of all those stakeholders, I would say.
And, if we're talking about all stakeholders, we can also talk about all features. So we focused in on that check-in. I'm wondering if you could color that in terms of the entire guest journey and what other features you have on AeroGuest that really make it a best in breed guest management system, GMS.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a simple answer because that's a process. So we were around relatively early, and the other, you could say suppliers that were there covered different parts of the journey because you had to concentrate on one thing, right? We concentrated on the check-in part. But as that evolves, the end game is that you need one guest system platform that covers all of it because you need to kind of have a minimum of suppliers in your tech stack because they all have to be very strongly integrated to each other so data can flow between each other. So we've been adding, doing the difficult check-in, check-out, payment, digital keys first. And basically what you then add on top of that is the full communication from the booking confirmation email to post-stay, including, upsells, extras, loyalty programs, CRM, permission gathering, all that. Because you need, all these systems, the front desk needs a login. They need an email builder to use. They need to know where data is. Imagine you had to log into 6 different systems every day. That has been their world for quite a while.
Yeah. Only 6, not 18.
Yeah, maybe more even, right? So that's completely crazy, right? I mean, if you talk to hoteliers at rather big hotels working at front desk, when they meet in the morning, they are just like crossing their fingers that this day will go okay. The first thing they look at is how many arrivals is coming. And hopefully everything goes well and I spell their names right and I can find the reservation in the system and get them off to their rooms.
Yeah, it's often said that the check-in itself is the most costly part of the hotel journey on a per minute basis. And, just automating that in various ways can help to create that arrival experience, which sets a great pace for a great on-site experience.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many things that will be improved. I mean, you mentioned yourself, you were going to Singapore, right?
Yeah.
You arrive at 11 o'clock at night. You don't want to speak to anyone. You just want to go to your room. And you have your reservations on your phone. You have your digital key. You have your room number. You go straight there. And then you can talk to people the next morning if you want to.
Yeah. I mean, that is the whole gamut of the travel industry is that the context of the guest. So if I'm arriving at 11 p.m., I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to go straight to my room versus arriving at 3 p.m. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I want to go down to the lobby bar. I want to talk to someone, et cetera, et cetera. Same person, different time, different context.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, on that note of the word context, which is so critical, and you mentioned before the whole idea of dynamic upselling, and I'm wondering how do you go about infusing upselling into the journey that's created on your platform without it being obtrusive or having some intelligence to take into account the context of the guest?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I mean, what we have realized the last couple of years is that for the hotel to own this, let's call it check-in interaction 2 to 1 day before they arrive is a really, really powerful space because the guest's mind is, ready for that travel. They're not ready to buy anything 2 months before their stay, because people book a long time prior to the actual travel. So having their attention that short period of time just before they arrive to the hotel, and you are putting them through a very, very important incentivized funnel, which is the check-in part. There's a big reward for the guests to go through that because then they know all that stuff is done. So while they're doing that, asking them if they want this or that service or upgrade or whatever just flows naturally into that. And because you have all the data from the PMS and all the rate codes, have all the payment rules, you only show them relevant stuff, so to speak. So you're not showing them something that they already have or didn't want. Next step is, of course, to kind of predict what might Adam be available for, right? And therein comes CRM, loyalty, AI, and so forth. But I would say that space is really, really powerful.
And just broadly based off the data through AeroGuest, what would you say that hotels could expect in terms of a total revenue uplift from dynamic upselling,
Yeah.
through using guest intelligence?
That is also a good question, right? Because there are almost no hotels that is similar to each other.
Yeah,
But if you take let's say, 3-4 star boutique hotel, add some room service, some upgrades, some bike rental, stuff like that, you should expect, no less than, $10 to $20,000 per month just
yeah,
on this extra stuff just before you arrive.
yeah,
And it will only increase not because you want to buy more, Adam, but because the technology and the UX will be there. So if it's easy for you to push a button to pay $20 for a late departure, if it's not a hassle, you do it, or early
yeah.
check-in, stuff like that. But if it's a hassle, I'll talk to them when I, arrive at the hotel and see what happens. But all of this becomes kind of in-game purchasing.
In-game purchasing, yeah, the freemium model. But I was gonna drop back. You said, we've been doing hotels the same way since the pyramids. And if you look at the advent of the credit card in the 50s and 60s, it was when you switch over from physical cash to this imaginary piece of plastic, you end up spending more. And essentially, your platform has infused elements of the Amazon shopping cart into the hotel stay. And it makes total sense.
Yeah, completely. I mean, you also know it from, what is big in Europe now is, of course, all this, tap to pay. So when
Yeah.
Apple added your credit card in, people just, suck the money out of your phone. You're completely right? You just spend more because it's convenient and easy, um, basically. And there's still a journey there, for hoteliers to understand that payment is actually, they need to completely remodel guest payments because it becomes a strategic tool, not just a thing they need. It's quite interesting.
Well, just to get a little bit technical here, because I'm a technical person, but I know we have some technical listeners. So you mentioned the late checkout for $20. And what I'm first wondering is what is the workflow on that you've had to build an AeroGuest to say, we're going to offer late check-in, late checkout for $20. It's going to get pushed through the PMS and then it goes off to the housekeeping module or service optimization system. Is that, could you
Yeah, I
open
can
that up
try.
to,
I don't
yeah,
want to say I'm the technical person here if my employees are listening to this podcast,
yeah.
but I do know something. Um, so first thing is for this to work properly, right? So let's say you're coming from me sending an email. Could I get a late checkout? Front desk has to respond to that email fast, saying you can. It costs you, let's say, $20. Please confirm the payment. I need to confirm it by email. They need to figure out when and how I pay. So, yeah. And,
Yeah.
50% of all guest requests are not answered. So
Wow.
that's my payment.
50%.
Yes, you don't
Wow.
have time. You don't have time. That's why you see all these chatbots and AI chatbots trying to do the answering, right? So payment again, you need to cover that up front. So imagine you get an email automated by a rate code saying, Adam, do you want a late checkout, for example? There's a payment button on $20. You just push that button. That's kind of saying yes. That payment goes automatically to the PMS, to your reservation. So the front desk can see in the PMS system that this reservation with Adam, there's been a change. There's been added a late checkout. So he's not checking out at 11, he's checking out at 2:00, and it's already paid for. So front desk is doing nothing. And if the PMS also is integrated to, intelligent housekeeping services like Icelandic Sweeply, the PMS will then notify Sweeply, task management housekeeping tool that goes straight to the cleaning personnel saying, don't knock on that door. It will first be liberated at 2:00 for cleaning. No one has done anything. It's completely automated. Makes complete sense. It's intuitive. That's how it should be, right?
Yeah. It's unlocking additional experience, but also additional value for the hotel.
Yes.
And I brought that up because the whole idea of dynamic upselling and now these additional tools to support this can help handle objections for that change management because everyone may assume that, oh, we're deploying this new piece of technology and we're simply swapping one point of friction for another insofar as having to check this additional system for upsell requests. But what you're saying is that isn't the case.
Yeah, and I'm saying that, I think everything you and I will talk about here today, we believe will be hygiene within hospitality in the coming years. If it takes 2 years or 4 years, I don't know. But the biggest challenge here is that introducing some of these new ways of doing things dependent on technology, hotels has to operate differently. Might not be big changes, but it feels big if you've been doing the same way the past 100 years. So that is the dialogue in the room, So if you want this revenue, you know, don't do this and that. Do this and that instead. It's not complicated. That's the dialogue. Services like pre-arrival check-in means that you, Adam, you've done your check-in the day before. So on the day of arrival, when that room is cleaned, it comes available. We see that availability in the PMS and we allocate that room to you automatically, right? A lot of hotel people, they want to do the allocation manually because they think they know you and they think Adam would love a corner room. But
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense, right? Just let the system allocate that room for you. They can do it very optimal.
And one other point to that $20 upsell for late checkout. Are you seeing a lot of activity around testing that $20? As in, how do you know that you're able to maximize your revenue off of $20 versus 25 versus
Yeah.
15?
I would say we are not there. We're not there yet.
Okay.
This is early days, and you also need relatively large hotel groups, let's say plus 15 to 20 hotels, for them to have a small department, maybe in a marketing employee, so forth, that can do A/B testing and checking things out. I mean, they
Yeah.
are very, very operational, open 24/7. So you need resources and hands to have the dialogue with someone like us. I mean, we do all the work, but it's that part of the market is still very immature, because that would be the way to do it, right? You know, let's make three. You have arrivals every day, so you would get data very fast, right?
Yeah, and one of the things I love about data and just having a guest management system where everything's unified under one platform is it enables the data to be structured in ways to allow for continuous learning.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what other ways, by using AeroGuest, can hotels learn to improve either revenues, operations, and of course, experience?
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's so many touch points, Adam. Uh, First of all, the biggest, by far, the biggest challenge for hotels is that on average, Adam, hotels only have contact data on 50% of their guests. So you have 50% of your guests coming to your hotel, eating, sleeping, staying there, leaving again, and you have no way to communicate to them. And that is, of course, you have agents delivering guests where they want to own the guests. You have conference guests, big groups, have no data on those. You have the OTAs, that has these encrypted emails and stuff like that. And in a world that is becoming digital and there's a lot of revenue, that's going to be the biggest topic on the professional hotels, saying, of course, we want to be able to communicate with all our guests. We want to be able to ask for a permission after they leave, so we can get into the direct booking part where the big money is. Well, that is a big thing. That is something we work a lot on. You can imagine that there's a group booking, 100 people from a Canadian lumber company coming, and it's a person at that company who booked the 100 rooms. There's no
Yeah.
data. Somehow, that person should have a simple tool, easy to fill out with the personal data, so that all the employees have a great stay. And in a few years' time, Adam, there will be only digital keys at all hotels in the world. It's more secure. So you have to be able to push that digital key to every individual, and every individual has a phone. So that is something that is very interesting.
It's interesting, and again, going back down to the technical details, could you color one way by which you help hotels to get that information on the guests so they can move from 50% of known of all guests being known to 65, 80, and help
Yeah,
to initiate that learning curve?
yeah. So we of course have this group booking data tool. The biggest initiative we're doing now, it will be launched in June, is that we completely replaces any kind of kiosks. So imagine that you're doing your web check-in, that check-in flow. If you haven't been in contact with the hotel, you arrive at the hotel, let's say there's a QR code for easy check-in. You scan that, and what we will show you just on top of that web check-in flow is basically an interface like a kiosk saying, "Find your booking." So write Adam Mogelonsky, "Is this you living in Canada?" That is me. Click, and then you're into the web check-in flow. And when you do that flow, you will add your email. So
Okay.
that
Yeah.
is the 50% you don't have already. And at the same time, you can imagine 500 people coming to the hotel in the morning because it's a conference hotel, sitting in the big conference room. At 4 o'clock, when that conference is done, they all go out and want to go to that room, and there's a huge line. So they will just sit in the conference room, scan QR codes on the wall, checking in while they're sitting at the conference room, getting their room, and just go out. So that will be that's where we take the pre-arrival check-in from 50% to 90%, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And provide the data for the hotel.
Yeah. It's a fantastic tool just to think how you can improve service, improve traffic around
Yeah,
the hotel to create these log jams. And I guess the second order effect of that is the faster a conference guest can get to their room and cool down, the faster they can get downstairs to the bar.
completely. And
Yeah.
that's why we don't want to be tough on those who make kiosks. It's just that using your own device, you know, your email is already in there. And Nikolai.Kronborg at canadianlumber.com, right? That's that's already in there. So, when the email field is empty, you push that, your email comes up, you click, done, right?
Yeah.
It's all about that. It has to be click, 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 super easy, convenient.
Wow. So one other aspect of AeroGuest to touch on, AeroGuest has its own embedded payment gateway or processor. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we are not a payment provider, so to speak. We work with partners. So, so the contract, you could say, is with us, and we implement all these smart payments in the guest journey. But we work with the biggest payment provider like Shift4, Planet, Agent. So yes, we are PCI compliant and stuff, but the actual payment stuff and gateway is through those partners.
And it's that's just eliminating yet more friction in terms of how
Yes.
people can complete things like a late checkout and stuff like that.
And add on top of that, choose the currency you want to pay with, the payment method, right? Google Pay, Apple Pay, or your credit card, a credit card on file, deposits, so all kinds of payment services that are super important in the digital world. And that's, it's a very competitive market. So there's a lot of strong suppliers out there. So that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Canadian lumber company sending 100 people, and uh, prior to that, there's probably a master folio where they only have one company card, and then people
Yeah.
want to do individual payments above that on whichever other card they have. So,
Yes.
it's incredibly important to be able to facilitate that because otherwise it's lost revenue.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the issues we had was, when you do the web checkout, right? So we completely move the guest from in-house to out-of-house in the PMS automatically. But if you are, let's say, paying with a company card, you want to make sure that you get a receipt with what should be paid with a company card and maybe what should be paid with the private one. I mean, small, weird stuff like that, can be done at front desk, just saying, I'll pay this with this card and the other. But doing that digitally, that demands
Yeah.
some powerful UX and knowledge, right? It's not easy.
No.
You just simply have to solve it somehow.
Yeah. And be accurate as well, which is the most
Trust.
important thing for
Yeah.
payments. Yeah. Trust.
And you can do roadblocks like that all day long. we're just launching a few properties in Spain, and, they need to provide a passport to the government on the same day. So somehow digitalize that and automatically send it somewhere.
So, okay, you're launching properties in Spain, and this speaks to the whole another point of friction in hotel sales, which is the fact that you have a platform that could technically be configured to work anywhere in the world, and yet the sales effort is often on site in the place you're selling to. And of course, with Spain, that's a good thing, right? You get to go down there and pitch them in a nice sunny place and have some delicious tapas and things like that. But it does slow down the growth process. So I'm wondering what is your overall philosophy or process for having a company that is cloud based, can go anywhere, but still making it hospitality specific and ensuring you have that hands-on approach to help hotels get onboarded and get the
Yeah,
technology in a good place.
really good question. So you can say that when we started out, you know, naive and not knowing anything about anything, being my age, it was, teams all over the world, right? But before we were even, almost haven't built the platform, Corona came, COVID, uh, and everything moved online. So that actually for us did that we could do sales, onboarding, customer support via video. Uh, that said, uh, we sell enterprise solutions, right? It's a quite a big platform. So we fly a lot, face to face onboarding, strategic meetings and stuff like that. I would say still is very strong. So, but compared to 20 years ago, I would say a company like ours would have a rather big headquarter with a lot of services there because you can do a lot of stuff on video. You would fly out to the big cities, where you have your tech partners and your concentration of hotel clients. And as you grow, you will, company like us, the next office we would have would be in London. And then you would have one in Munich, and then you would have one in the East Coast in the US, but smaller teams that moves around. Also because you invest a lot in the platform for that to be intuitive, right? I mean, we all know HubSpot and we use it. I never met someone, right, from that company. And that's because they have done it, intuitively and good.
Well, it's interesting you bring up HubSpot because I was going to circle back to CRM and loyalty. And within the CRM space, but also in other technology spaces, one thing that I've observed from the buyer side, the owners and the corporate level, is looking at a company like HubSpot and going, well, it's not hospitality specific. Therefore, I want a CRM that's has hospitality experience because I know it's going to be configurable to the way I want it. So, um, the question therein is, what features does AeroGuest have to properly either extract or export and transform data for the CRM to enable that post-stay continuous learnings? And then the next question over that is, how would you contend with your CRM partners in deciding which ones to try to integrate with, whether HubSpot, which is a more horizontal, larger CRM, or something that is more of specifically towards the hospitality vertical?
Very good question. So we just launched what we call Audience, which is a CRM and a permission gathering tool, which is very interesting. I'll come back to that. So I would say what we just launched is a minimum viable product. The reason we did that is exactly what you mentioned. All hoteliers ask, is it something you do? And that's because there is no hotel loyalty CRM platform built specifically only for hotels. At the same time, demand is completely different. If it's a small hotel, a big hotel, a conference hotel, is it CRM for B2C, B2B, so forth. So again, what we did, beginningly naively, is that a lot of us come from a digital background, knowing a lot about CRM. There's, hundreds of thousands of systems out there. The core of a CRM is an overview of the data and a communication module, right? We had that already. So basically, let's build that. But what drove it was that hoteliers, they have no way of getting a lot of permissions to be able to communicate to their guests after the stay. They are allowed to communicate from booking to during stay, like the airlines. And on top of that, 50% they don't have data on. So knowing, as we talked about with the upselling, so the space within the check-in just before you arrive, if you ask for permission there, what would happen? We launched it just a month ago. It's live on 2 hotels, and 50% of every guest checking in signs up for permission. So that is a completely crazy, crazy number. And they are not promising them, 50% discount on the next day. It's basically, again, the in-game, it makes sense. It's trustworthy. It's nice. Fine. I want to hear from them. So combined with check-in, check-out communication, we believe will be hygiene in our world. This is the future for us. So we will be a sales force within CRM 4 years from now. So the challenge there is, in order to have a powerful CRM within hospitality, you also need what's called a CDP, a central data platform. And that's because, again, hotels have a lot of platforms like the POS, the whole food and beverage part. So for me, for AeroGuest audience CRM system to understand Adam, who gave a permission, we know everything about the booking, the reservations, he's paying this for the room and stuff like that. We need to know what's going on his restaurant visits at the hotel. Meaning we would need to do an integration to the POS system. So our challenge is, how do we not end up having 500 integrations? Because that's would probably be impossible, right? So of course you would integrate to the big ones. Already today we see that because we have a small CRM, so when we sign a big hotel group, they are professional, they have a big CRM already. We make the integration to that. So they use our platform to get the permissions and not the CRM. They move it up to their own CRM. At some point, we will of course pitch for that, but we are still early days. But that is super interesting, right? Because it's also super intuitive that the guest management platform, of course, is where the CRM is. Makes complete sense that and the interesting part there is when we then in the fall add agentic AI on it. So you have all these permissions that's coming in every day, and suddenly you have thousands of those, and you have no overview. What should I communicate? Also creatively, what's a good idea? So the agentic AI can say, "Good morning, Miss Front Desk, or Miss Marketing, or Mr. Marketing. You actually have 1,200 permissions of people staying at your hotel last Easter. Easter is coming up. Send them an email offering them this and that. Push the button. Because creativity is also a scarcity, right? You don't have time to come up with ideas. You don't have the overview of what. And then that agent can do all kinds of suggestions, right? Business clients, family clients, seasonalities like the Easter and stuff like that. So that's really, really interesting. Or you have 500 people only spending $100 during this day. Communicate something to them. Or these travelings with a dog, tell them that, remember this is a dog-friendly hotel. Come visit us for the spring.
I've always thought about hotel CRM in terms of the creation of more segments, but in a lot of ways, you're talking about creating tags onto people. So, just because somebody has traveled with a dog, that's a tag. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're part of that dog-friendly segment. So I love that you shifted it over to discuss and inject the term AI in there because we hadn't actually mentioned that up until now. I'm wondering, what other ways are you going to see artificial intelligence help us to segment or to tag guests in order to devise better and more specific communications to them to really, really drive that repeat traffic and that customer lifetime value?
Yeah, that's also an interesting question. I mean, you will probably get all kinds of different opinions when you ask people about that. Our position is that adding any agentic AI on your platform is only as good as what data is flowing within that platform. So a company like us, as AI is a hot topic, get pushed by the board, investors, what are you doing? And our position is that we want to finalize, if I could say that, our integrations. So we are building very deep integrations between PMS systems, payments especially. So we have AI in mind when we build it, but when we have control of those integrations and the data, we believe AI can be really strong. So, for example, the mentioned agentic AI on helping marketing on their communication within CRM. Well, it's only as good as the data that the agentic AI can rely on. So if you don't have an integration to, let's say, that POS system, you don't know anything about Adam's food and beverage habits, well, then, it's limited. So as a hotelier, you need to, and as a company like us, you need to know when is the time to hit the AI. And that's also why you see good and bad chatbots. We use chatbots as an example because easy to understand. It's a plugin. They can only, answer questions for you automatically with the knowledge they have. So the less knowledge, the weirder answer you get, right? And we've all been chatting with a chatbot with 10 questions and finding out they couldn't help you. And that's not good. So you need to know when is it good enough for your brand to add this.
Wow.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And you mentioned a word previously, hygiene.
Yes.
And by that, are you referring to the cleansing and structuring of data?
Now I'm basically more practical. You would never, when you buy an airline ticket today, you know that 24 hours before, you would go to your computer, check yourself in, and download the boarding pass.
Yeah.
That is today hygiene. So what I mean with hygiene hospitality is that you will be checked in before you arrive. You will have a key on your phone. You will have paid for everything. You will have, the hotel directory so you can see the opening hours of the fitness room and all that. You are prepared. That's going to be hygiene. So, so we are looking to, what is the USP going to be for a company like us? And what we foresee is the whole communication loyalty part, getting people to book again.
GMS, CRM like this. And
Yes.
the more you can integrate those, the better you can create that virtuous circle of, getting people back in, communicating with them, and extending the stay.
Yeah. Adding the integrations to the spa system and all the spa systems in the world, right? So a lot of integration work needs to be done. It's more like your business model. Can it handle that many expensive integrations, right? That's going to be the challenge.
Yeah. And, the integrations is a nightmare unto itself because how do you pick out the partners? And a lot of times, like, I don't want to be assumptive here, but that may be client led in terms of you're pitching a business and they require that
Yes.
integration.
Yeah. That was how we started, right? So
Yeah.
we ended up having 10 hotels in 10 different countries with 10 different PMSs because we said yes to everything, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think time will work for everyone because if you have a tech company that wants to work in hospitality, they need to be agile, open. Because they need to work with other tech platforms. And, if they are not open and agile, you know, they will be put out of the loop.
Yeah. And I think that's the timeless lesson right there is just the agile having agility, being able to respond quickly and flexibly to everything.
Yeah.
So, Nikolai, we've covered a lot of ground here. And I'm just wondering if there's any final thoughts you have, either in terms of trends you're seeing that excite you or anything else you want to mention about AeroGuest.
I just want to say that I'm excited on behalf of people working in hotels because it's going to be much more fun. Uh, you know, all the repetitive work is done. You will imagine hoteliers that has no lobby or front desk. It's just a lounge and restaurants, and you meet people looking them in the eye, talking to them. Of course, they will be more commercial because they can you know talk products with you, but that's going to be completely changed to something much more nice and cool.
That is a very bright future to look forward to because right now everybody's talking about the labor problems, right? Where are we going to find good people? Where are we going to find talent? And you are offering a solution right there.
Exactly. I mean, it should be. We haven't gone to that part, but we from the heart mean it when we tell hoteliers that they should, when they're looking for new people, they should market that they are a digital hotel and they have the modern systems and services because that attracts talent.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, it's poetic, and it's a great way to finish off.
Great.
Nikolai, thank you so much for your time. It's been a delight just talking about guest management systems, CRM, AI, all that fun stuff, and just mastering the basics like moving your check-in to digital.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. It's been a joy revisiting all the challenges again.
Nikolai, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Gain Momentum podcast. To stay up to date, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Gain Advisors, head to gainadvisors.com.